Hi, Marlena. Got your second iteration up here. This is just fantastic. Really good job. I mean, you're paying attention and you're really nailing it. This is fantastic. I just love what you're doing here. Just a couple of comments. Okay, opening page here. I think this logo is too big. It really is. I mean, it's just enormous. It's almost three-quarters of that 8.5 by 11. So it's be a little more finesse in the presentation there. So I would reduce that size to maybe something like that. Give it a little room, a little breathing room around it, so a little room to interact with the page, so to speak. Activate some negative space and really allow the viewer to kind of ease into this gorgeous logo as opposed to having it like just bam right up in your face. Hope that makes sense. Yeah, the configuration, the actual layout looks so much better. In the PDF format. I don't know what happened in the Word document, but as we all know, Word is it's not easy to design in Word. So I thought it was unusual that that request was, or that requirement was to submit in Word. I would much rather have had you compose this in Illustrator or InDesign and then export to PDF, which is presumably exactly what you did. Great introduction here. One thing I would recommend is to try to keep your introduction, the verbiage at the same place on every page. So in other words, have it start on the same place on every page. So if the page falls short of completing the page, at least you have this cadence set so that the viewer expects this introduction, this headline to start in the same spot on every page, as we see here, 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 and throughout the rest of the presentation, with the exception of this page right here, where for some reason, it's much lower in the composition. Our vision, our values, excellent. Branding basics, configurations. There's the logo. Here's your descriptions. Great job there. Okay, wellness emphasized throughout the color. No, this page is good, but I'm not real sure if it's needed I mean, basically what you're doing is you're describing your reasoning behind the logo and the color choices. But in essence, this is a brand, a style guide. So you're just telling designers that are going to be working with how to use this. You're not necessarily having to explain the reasoning behind it. Hope that makes sense. Okay, over here, excellent, good job. Minimum size, great. This is a little tough right here. Okay, I would find something else to use other than this W times 1.5. Okay, so the W equals X, and then the clear center is 1.5, so it's 1.5 W's. And that's just really difficult to try to wrap your head around. I guess, okay, so how do I assemble 1.5? That's why typically what we do is we'll take something out of the logo. Like, for example, we'll take that G and we'll say, okay, that G right there is your clear distance. That way, any designer using this in the future can just extract that G from the logo and see exactly the width of it and decide exactly where the clear distance is. Conversely, you can just give a distance too. You can say, 3/4 of an inch clear distance. Okay, and then over here, that's fantastic. RGB and CMYK equivalent color values. Great job there. Outstanding job describing the use of your typefaces. Yeah, just really fantastic stuff. Okay, this is another problem here because you've got W, your W is your X value, and then you're saying again, 1.5. That's just really difficult to try to understand. Or it's 3 W's from the top of the business card to the cap line of the name. 3. So you see how it would be much easier to say, okay, that's just going to end up being 3/4 of an inch. This is going to be, instead of saying 1.5x, just say, okay, type starts 3/4 of an inch from the top. The type starts 1/4 of an inch from the right margin, and 3/4 of an inch or whatever from the bottom margin. Then the URL is 1/4 of an inch from the bottom margin and 1/4 inch from the right margin. Then the logo, and then the same thing with the logo. So that way, it's just a lot easier for a designer to use this to assemble business cards in a way that you don't have to say, oh, geez, well, what is it, 1.5 W's? See what I'm saying? I'm not real sure. I don't think that this outer stroke is part of your business card. I think that you've just done that to indicate the edge of the card. But what I would recommend whenever you're going to do that is, this is confusing because it looks like it's a blue stroke. So it's kind of confusing that might be construed as a outer stroke, a frame, so to speak, on a business card, which you don't want to do. So and then you can see the same thing over here. What I typically recommend is that if you have a white document on a white background, you can just take a hairline black stroke. Don't use the same color in the design, because that could be mistaken as an actual design element. This is a hairline black stroke, 1 pixel. That's all you need, just to differentiate that from the background just a little bit. Same thing with the letterhead as well. And then the letterhead, you've got primer centered at the top. That's good. Whoops, sorry about that. Centered at the top, centered at the bottom, and then right over here, I just want to mention that you've got you got the URL, but in a letterhead you need to have additional contact information. In other words, you would have the telephone number, the address, presumably the fax number, URL, and email. And I think that makes sense. T-shirt looks great. Coffee cup looks great. Fantastic job. I love it. Great job. This is really, really done very, very, very well, especially for a 135 level class. Great job. You're doing very, very good. All right. Thanks, Marlene. Any questions? Let me know. Thank you.